Diddy spend the rest of his life behind bars or walk out of court a free man? Closing arguments are well underway in his sex trafficking trial. Plus, the Arizona woman indicted for threatening to shoot ICE agents in the head when they came looking for her Iranian national husband. And someone call Miranda Priestley. Anna Wintour is looking for her replacement at US Vogue after helming the Glossy for 37 years. Those stories and more today, Friday, June 27th. I'm Caitlin Becker, and this is the New York Postcast. Marathon closing arguments are underway in the sex trafficking case of Sean Diddy Combs. Quote, "It's his kingdom. Everyone is there to serve him." That's what prosecutors said during their closings, weaving for jurors this decades-long history of complete control, depraved sex, hard drugs, rampant violence, even arson. They used the now infamous video of Diddy's ex, Cassie Ventura, being beaten in a hotel hallway to say to the jury, "Look, this is what happened when you, quote, said no." Now, the jury will decide whether or not the rap mogul is guilty of sex trafficking, racketeering, and transporting prostitutes, putting the star behind bars possibly for the rest of his life. But understanding that getting that conviction is not an easy task, prosecutors try to clearly and concisely point out multiple examples of testimony that would fit the bill for those crimes. But today, Diddy's crack defense team will deliver their hours-long closing arguments before turning the case over to the jury for deliberations. And Team Diddy will reiterate, as they have done all trial long, that participants in the freak-offs were willing and that you don't have to condone his behavior or even like the guy in order to find him not guilty. Over to Washington. The end of June is Supreme Court decision season. The highest court in the land is finishing up their term today, and some really big decisions are expected. One that a lot of people have their eye on is the fight over President Trump's executive order ending birthright citizenship. And some significant rulings have already been handed down. The court said Thursday that states have the right to block Planned Parenthood from receiving federal funds from Medicaid. Now, that legal battle started way back in 2018 when then South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster signed an executive order preventing any abortion clinic from receiving Medicaid funding. A single Medicaid patient, along with Planned Parenthood, sued, citing a 1965 law that they argued allowed them to sue states when the government disqualified certain medical providers. Now, 7 years later, SCOTUS has ruled they cannot. And it's interesting to note here, the court did split along ideological lines, 6-3. And now to Iran. After President Trump took a victory lap for the U.S. seemingly obliterating Iran's nuclear capabilities, Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei slithered out of his hidey hole Thursday, first time we've seen him since the ceasefire went into effect, and he did it to say, not so fast. The Ayatollah claimed victory over Israel and then threw some shade at the United States, saying in part, quote, "The Islamic Republic was victorious and in retaliation delivered a hand slap to America's face." Now, I cannot imagine that is going to land well at the White House. Now, he went on to claim that while the U.S. did hit Iranian nuclear sites, they didn't, quote, achieve much. Well, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth does not agree with that assessment. Here he is at the Pentagon Thursday.
And the reality is you want to call it destroyed, you want to call it defeated, you want to call it obliterated, choose your word. This was an historically successful attack, and we should celebrate it as Americans, and it gives us a chance to have peace, chance to have a deal, and an opportunity to prevent a nuclear Iran, which is something President Trump talked about for 20 years.
And none other than the head of the UN's nuclear watchdog backed up the United States, the IAEA claiming that the centrifuges needed to enrich uranium at that crucial Fordo facility are, quote, no longer operational and suffered enormous damage. And now to our big story. An Arizona woman and her Iranian national husband have been federally indicted after she allegedly threatened to shoot ICE agents in the head when they came to the couple's home looking for her husband. Now, he's ignored a deportation order since 2013, simply refusing to leave the country. And ICE has been on high alert ever since the U.S. bombed Iranian nuclear facilities. That attack stoked fears that terrorist sleeper cells could be waking up inside the United States to retaliate. ICE also announced the arrest of 10 other illegal immigrants from Iran this week, one of whom is a former member of the Revolutionary Guard with suspected ties to Hezbollah. Another, a a sniper in the Iranian army, and a third who is on the terror watch list. So is this a national security concern we should all be paying attention to? For more on all that, I am joined by the Post's Jenny Terr, who is our resident immigration expert. So Jenny, how big does this get? Is there a kind of rough estimate on how many Iranian illegal migrants the government suspects are in the country right now?
Right. So what the government knows is that there are thousands that are at least being tracked by them. So ICE has what's known as an alternative to detention program. So while there were floods of migrants coming across the border, many of them were enrolled in this because there wasn't space to detain them in ICE detention centers. They just didn't have the capacity. So we know that there are actually thousands enrolled in this program. We know there are about 3,000 who have final deportation orders, about 2,000 who have those, and 3,000 who have pending orders reportedly. And so they're all part of that program, but it's also those that we don't know about, that ICE doesn't have any eyes on them. So these are the people that came across the border as what's known as gotaways, people who snuck across and were not apprehended by border agents. The most gotaways that came into this country were under the Biden administration, when Border Patrol agents were overwhelmed and weren't able to go out into the field as much to apprehend people trying to run away from them. So we have this kind of compounded issue that ICE is now having to kind of pick up the pieces. They're trying to track down these people they know about, and then they're also trying to find the ones they don't know about.
So is the White House or ICE giving any sense about how much danger this particular set of illegals pose beyond just being here illegally?
Right. So we know some of the individuals that have been nabbed in the last week include an IRGC member, a former IRGC member. That person is also admitted to have ties to Hezbollah, a U.S. designated terrorist organization, and is backed by Iran. And then we also have individuals who are on the terror watch list. Their name is on there. And we have individuals who also have ties to the Iranian army. One of the guys that they caught, they found with an Iran army ID on him, and that they found that he was a sniper for a number of years, and they were recent years. This wasn't a long time ago. So these are some of the individuals nabbed. Now, the Biden administration knowingly released some individuals who were on the terror watch list. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they are in a lot of aspects. And so that's something, again, that's kind of the unknown portion of what ICE is trying to hunt down as part of Trump's mass deportation effort.
So looking forward, how is ICE prioritizing their investigations at this point when it comes to deportations?
This is a big issue within ICE right now, actually, because the Trump administration wants ICE to prioritize the worst of the worst, the really severe illegal alien criminals that are roaming the country, and that includes terrorists. But at the same time, they're also instituting a quota on ICE. So they're saying you need to make 3,000 arrests every day across the country. That's put a lot of pressure on our ICE agents, who tell me that they are overwhelmed and that they are having to go seek out targets. They're having to find these illegal immigrants out on the streets. They're having to go to the train stations. They're having to go to bus stops. And in some points, we've heard about them going to the Home Depot parking lot because they're trying to just find anyone they can get who has no immigration status to be able to meet those quotas. So where does that leave us with these high value targets? Unfortunately, I've heard from a lot of my sources that they're having to let a lot of them go by the wayside because it takes more time to investigate those high value targets, to go out, to do surveillance, to do the paperwork, to make sure you've crossed all your X's, dotted your I's, and everything. So that's a really big issue that's going on within ICE. Yes, they're getting numbers up. Yes, they're getting more people who are here illegally, but it's making it's making ICE have to go after these lower value targets. And in some respects, they're letting go individuals who may be on the terror watch list, individuals who may be hardened criminals, rapists, anything like that, that would take a little more investigating, that would take maybe cooperation from a magistrate judge to get a warrant, anything like that, that's more time consuming. They can't do right now in a lot of offices.
As I saw in your reporting, it really has become a bit of quantity over quality. Jenny Terr, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Now from our friends at Page 6. What's Italian for I'm bitter I didn't get an invite? The rich and richer got all gussied up in Venice Thursday to kick off the wedding festivities of Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez ahead of today's ceremony. It really is a who's who of the bougiest people on the planet, all barreling into the slowly drowning city, dripping with diamonds, and on their yachts. I'm not kidding about the slowly drowning part. Venice, Italy is literally sinking. Anyway, the paparazzi snapped Kim and Khloe Kardashian, along with their mom Kris Jenner, heading to the welcome party. Oprah and bestie Gayle King were also spotted, and newly single Orlando Bloom met up with fellow famous bachelor Tom Brady to enjoy a boat ride earlier in the day. And in case you missed it, Orlando Bloom and Katy Perry are Splitsville. That also happened this week. Well, Thursday's welcome party is the first of 3 pre-events before the big I do. TMZ reported that a pajama party is also in the mix because of course it is. And fun fact, they're already married. Sources told Page Six that the couple tied the knot legally in the US before going abroad for the big extravaganza, which, by the way, is costing them $10 million. And yep, there's a prenup. And finally today, retirement for summer? Groundbreaking. The queen of high fashion, Anna Wintour, is stepping back from Vogue. Anna Wintour is Vogue, so this is major and in the middle of Paris Fashion Week. Well, her business card is a crowded place. Wintour is Condé Nast's chief content officer, the global editorial director of Vogue, and editor-in-chief of Vogue's US edition. And it is that last one there that she's leaving after 37 years. She told the magazine's staff that she is on the hunt for a new head of editorial content for American Vogue. But if you think she is going to don a Chanel tracksuit and ride a golf cart in Boca, you would be mistaken. A source tells the Post the move will allow her to focus on global domination at Condé Nast. While she does that, we will focus on dominating our weekend. That is it for today. For more on these stories and everything else you could possibly want to know, check out the New York Post in print or online. Don't forget, like and subscribe to the New York Postcast wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. You will be glad you did. We get to wake up together.